can't remember what they got on. But I do remember when I lived in the valley with Homer, we were invited to go down to Nellie Duffy's, Arnold Duffy's one night, because they just got television. And they wanted us to come down to see it. Oh, it was going to be wonderful. Down we went. And it was all that I could see was just, like a snowstorm. Faintly, you could see outlines of people. And it was supposed to have been a wrestling match that we were watching.
And it was that poor,
Oh, very poor. But after a while, when my brother was killed, Homer bought a television, because after that he bought it, I guess, thinking I would enjoy it, and I did. And we had we could get good reception.
Was it black and white?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old was your brother when he was killed?
38.
Okay. And he worked for the line.
Yeah. He was killed on the line.
Okay. How about movies? Did you go to the movies over here?
When I was in high school and lived with Aunt Carrie, if I didn't, lots of weekends my folks would let me come home if it was too cold to make that long trip home in that sleigh. So I had to stay down. And we had movies right across the road there. But there's now the post office.
Do you remember how much it cost you?
No.
No.
I remember Della Tracy played the piano down front. She was the background music.
Okay.
And it was black and white, of course.
Uh-huh.
Went to the movies.
Now, didn't Bill Lease rent to show movies over there? Was that during the time you were staying there with them?
No.
No, that was later on.
Mm-hmm.
Later on. Okay. What do you remember? Anything you remember about the Depression? Hardships and so forth, or did?
Yes. In this way, I remember I was in college, and there was no money for anybody, really. I had a very good friend, and she didn't have any money. And sometimes we would exchange clothes, because I'd like her skirt and blouse, and she'd like something I was wearing. Didn't have clothes, Didn't have many clothes, no.
Were your clothes mostly handmade?
Bob did make a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, she did make me a lot of them.
Did you sew, or did you?
No,
you were a
I never
seamstress
did
or
sew.
knit or anything?
Yes, I
you
did.
knit.
I used to knit.
But you weren't a seamstress.
No.
No.
My mother was a good one.
Uh huh. So a lot of your things were made, by then. So what changes do you? What's the biggest changes today compared to as you were growing up and so forth? What do you think is the biggest change?
Well,
in our lifestyle?
I guess it's technical changes. Isn't that the word?
Mm-hmm.
Technology, sure.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, yes. Think of all the things that we have today. Never thought about in those times. Nobody ever thought of a computer, didn't know what they were.
And you think of your walking, you're talking about walking to school and all of that. That would not happen. That would not happen today and everything. When did you move over here?
5 years ago.
I say over here, you're at the senior life.
Yeah, I've been here 5 years.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And you felt that was a good move for you?
Yes. After Homer passed away, I stayed there 1 year, and I tried to stay there. I had this lady that lived with me, but it was just too hard with keeping it up, and Barbara and Bruce decided that I should not live.
You're comfortable here, certainly.
I like it here
Yeah.
very much.
Can you think of anything, Barb, any stories she's told you that
No, I think she's done a wonderful
you
job,
did,
actually.
yeah.
No, I mean, she's, other things, but no, I think she's given you a pretty good
I think you've done. I think
overall-
You've done an excellent job, really. I have to tell you that Paige will say, he's said this any number of times, and I think I've told you this before, that Vern Hart was his French teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he got really good marks, not deserving. And then Vern left for whatever reason, and you took over. He said his marks took him his change. He said Francis was a much better teacher than what he had.
Bill Kinney told me one time that he didn't think that I knew how to make any letter except C. He never got a thing, he said, higher than a C for me.
I will say she was a wonderful teacher in the sense that it was hard for me to have her as my teacher because I had her for three years of French or 4 years, I can't remember, and 2 or 3 of Latin, of which I hated Latin, but she made me take it, and I'm glad now that she did. But given the circumstances, if my grade was a B, which it wasn't usually, so that she wouldn't look like she was showing any favoritism, I would get the B minus, just to be sure, or the C plus,
Yeah.
that she
Well,
didn't show favoritism.
I didn't want you to do that because I know others did. I didn't want to.
Well, she didn't, believe me.
Well, I have to tell you, Francis, I ran across a paper the other day. You were Mrs. Coda at the time, and it was an English exam, and I got an A++.
Well, good.
Yes. And you had wrote on there, this was an excellent, underlined paper. Well, I remember it so plainly because you always gave us a bonus question to bring the mark up a little bit. And Paige could not understand why in the world, if I had known the answers to all of the rest of the things, why would I have done that bonus one? It was the most ridiculous thing that he ever heard of, you know. Why would you do that except showing off or whatever, you know. But I found that paper the other day, and it had, on the outside, it had Mrs. Coda, English 12, I guess it was English 11 or 12, whichever, and it was an A++, and I saved it for whatever reason, so you did know how to make something else besides C's.
Well,
You know, I remember that Gordon Witherow, when he was to graduate, and he had a term paper that was due, and he didn't do it. And he didn't do anything that year anyway. And he was a senior, and it was in English, and he had to pass English. And I could not pass that fellow because he hadn't deserved to pass. He hadn't done any work. But I was feeling so badly about it that I went to him and I said, listen, Gordon, I'm going to give you a second chance. On a Saturday, if you will prepare, I will give you a special exam. And if you pass that exam, I'll pass you in English so you can graduate. Well, he must have worked himself to pieces because he did a wonderful job.
See?
And consequently, after it was all over, he came to my door one day with a great big bouquet of red roses.
Oh, isn't that nice?
I remember that so
So
well.
he could have done it. He
Sure,
easily
he
could
could
done it.
have. He just was lazy.
Well, I tell you, Francis, people say you were, you know, no one says, well, what you were an excellent, excellent teacher. No, it's true. I mean, haven't you heard it, Barb?
Oh, yes, I have.
I mean,
No, I
really,
have.
you
I've
were
heard that.
an excellent teacher and a fair teacher. So, well, just a minute. Okay. You're 94,
94. I'll
And-
be 95 the first day of July.
and you are the oldest
Oldest person in this building.
with a good memory still.
Thank God.
Yes, yes.